gentlemen of the internet and elsewhere, to the second episode of the Liberty Cadre Podcast. Lots going on in the world, and you're going to hear all of our opinions about it, whether you want to or not, but we guess you probably do want to if you're watching this. I am your host, the Liberty Ambassador, Matthew Cobb, joined by the hashtag Slay Queen editor of the Liberty Cadre, Nzinga Johnson. Nzinga, how are you doing this fine evening?
I just want to apologize to the audience. I am a little under the weather. So if you see me jerk, it's just a sneeze. Don't be alarmed.
She's lying. It's actually a sign the aliens are coming to take over the planet and are possessing her.
Well, all conservatives are aliens, apparently. So there you go.
Yes. But it's okay. We love humans. We come in peace. So anyway, one of the many things that's been going on this week is the continued talk about the Mueller Report. Specifically, William Barr, the Attorney General, has said that he plans to release a redacted version of it to Congress by the middle of April. And of course, the Democrats are not happy about that. They set an April 2nd deadline, which William Barr did not meet. And they're threatening to subpoena the report. Nzinga, your thoughts on this?
They're grasping. They are scraping the bottom of the barrel. They have been for a while, but I think the summary that Barr gave kind of rained on their parade, like their fake parade that they were having. And it's kind of amazing to me that they're still holding on to this. I was watching Ann Coulter debate some liberal lady I'd never heard of, who'd been in the game just as long as Ann Coulter has, and she was saying, well, there's all of these indictments against people that are around Trump, and it's like, well, none of them had anything to do with Russian collusion, and so it's weird to see people as old as Nancy Pelosi still kind of living in a fairy tale land. But I mean, we're watching it right before our eyes, so I think they're grasping and they're trying to get anything they can, and that shows us as conservatives, or if you vote Republicans, that 2020 may look really good for us if they're that afraid of Trump.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's defied the odds every time so far, so I can't blame him for being afraid.
Right.
Now, the Daily Wire reports, per a New York Times article, that sources, of course, unnamed sources from the Justice Department are claiming, or sorry, not the Justice Department, but from Mueller's team, are claiming that the report might be more damaging to Trump than Barr is letting on. And of course, they don't specify how.
Right.
But I think it's funny that the Democrats are so desperately clawing it. And here's the thing: on one hand, I think it's a legitimate oversight of Congress to want to see the full report. I think that's
right.
fair. But you know, it's hard to not doubt their intentions, because I figure no matter what's in that report, they're going to find something. Probably not anything that will actually have any real legal consequences for Trump, but just something to annoy him or to try to put in the court of public opinion, some business dealing or something.
Maybe. Or absolutely nothing. I mean, I don't really think they're going to find anything. They had all of those indictments already, none of which had anything to do with Russian collusion. And I think really what's happening are the Democrats are still holding on. So I have a friend who's very much a Trump hater, and he said, Barr is Trump's guy. I really want to see the report myself, and once I see that, then I'll kind of make my decision. And I said, well, how? And this is before Barr said anything about releasing it. And I said, well, how long are you going to wait? It's been 2 years. He goes, oh, not much longer. I'm like, interesting. Like, I never think about Russian collusion before it come to find out that Trump didn't do anything. I never ever think about it. And the thing is the left makes fun of the right for being kind of religious and honoring God and having faith in something we can't see. And lo and behold, here they are uh, believing in something that there's no proof of, there's no evidence, and nothing has been found to show that Trump has colluded with Russia. So it's just interesting how the shoe's on the other foot, kind of, sort of, in a way, right now. But I think once that report comes out, and I think it's going to be redacted, right?
That's what they were. That's what Barr was saying.
Right. I don't think much is going to be found. It's been a too long of an investigation. So much money has been spent looking into this thing, and we have the best and the brightest in our in law enforcement working on it. I don't think anything's going to come of it.
Yeah, and I can already kind of see the Democrats' next complaint be like, "Oh, the report's redacted. What did they take out?" You know.
Right.
So
So it's one of those things. We'll see what happens, but I predict that it'll be nothing. Like, even when it came out that Trump was kind of exonerated in a way, I wasn't very surprised. The only thing that was great about that day was the memes that came about from Mueller, which we actually used one of those memes on as the cover letter or the cover picture for your article. Shameless plug of
yes,
LibertyCadre.com.
yes, it was quite a great article and quite a great picture, if I do say so myself.
Yeah,
But
by a pretty darn good writer. Weird.
yeah, I don't. I wonder who that guy was who wrote that article.
Yeah, genius somewhere.
But yeah, so I don't think they're going to come up with much either. And I thought it was funny when they first, when all the kind of news outlets were reporting that basically Barr had announced that there was basically nothing, that there was no collusion, that they made sure to point out, oh well, look at all of these other legal proceedings that are ongoing against Trump and his administration in other parts of the country, so that you can tell they are desperate to nail this man on something.
Yeah, they are. And the fact that it didn't work with the Stormy Daniels thing that goes to show you that I told my friend, people act like folks who voted for Trump, like we don't know that he's flawed and
Mhm.
that he's probably got some skeletons in the closet. So you bring out something like Stormy Daniels, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty bad, but we kind of knew he was like that going into it. So what's your point here? So they can bring up whatever they want. It won't. There won't be much that'll surprise actual Trump voting people. So
Yeah, and I mean, I think to an extent, I do think there are some Trump supporters that think the man walks on water, but I would agree that I think most people who voted for Trump, we kind of knew, like, hey, look, he's not Hillary Clinton.
yeah,
That's why he gets the vote, you know.
yeah, exactly.
But so, which speaking of the Stormy Daniels thing, like Michael Avenatti apparently is in some legal hot water of his own. Did you hear about that?
I did. I laughed. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of mean, but I thought it was hilarious.
I mean, to me, it's just fitting. Like the guy who was trying to act like he was some like moral crusader, you know, is now he's facing his own legal charges, and you having Stormy Daniels like now a real public figure somehow issuing like public like statements on stuff. I'm like, you can't even satirize things anymore because real life is just so crazy.
Yeah, I like the way you said that. It's perfect.
And speaking of things that are impossible to satire because they're so crazy, our good friend Jussie Smollett from Empire is still in the news. And woo boy, this story just keeps getting juicier. So the
Yeah.
latest developments are he staged a hate crime, according to what the Chicago police found in their investigation. They were going to charge him. The city prosecutor was going to charge him with, I think, 16 counts of disorderly conduct, I think. And then all the charges mysteriously got dropped, and the Chicago police apparently didn't like that, so someone put in a Freedom of Information Act request, basically, because when they dropped the charges, the case record was sealed, basically requesting a copy of the police report. And normally, I don't know how familiar you are with this sort of thing, Nzinga, but I know that government agencies are not typically speedy to comply with Freedom of Information Act requests. And the Chicago police in this place had it out within, like, I think a few hours. Which, so they, and then the judge apparently gave them crap because, like, these case files are still in the police department. Was basically like, go eat a lower male extremity is basically what they told that judge. But so, and the one other detail I think that dropped today, at least I saw it today, was, so apparently the city of Chicago, the mayor's office in particular, is now preparing to sue Jussie for $130,000 for basically compensation for all the time and resources that it took the Chicago Police Department to investigate this fake hate crime. So there's a lot to unpack here. Nzinga, what do you think about all this mess?
Let me tell you, Matthew, I have so much to say about all of this. So first of all, he staged a hate crime. Let's just say if I was writing a news story, I would say allegedly, but he did it. There's so much evidence, and the viewers can go look at that. That's slightly old news. The new news, or the new-ish news, is that it's kind of linked to Michelle Obama. So Michelle Obama's old chief of staff called up Kim Fox, who is she's the state lawyer.
That sounds
I'm drawing a blank here, but she's a pretty heavy hitter in politics out in Illinois, and Kim Fox calls up Eddie Johnson, who's the chief of police or the superintendent, and she emails Obama's old chief of staff saying, "Hey, I spoke to Eddie Johnson. I'm waiting to hear back from him." And what happened is one of the Smolletts, one of his family members, talked to Kim Fox, and so Kim Fox recused herself from the whole thing, and let her kind of underlings deal with it, and that's how we are where we are now. And the whole thing about the case files kind of being, I'm drawing a blank. What's the word? The case files were sealed. She blamed it on the clerk.
Sorry to interrupt you, Nzinga, but I'm referencing an article. She is the Cook County State's Attorney. That's Kim Fox's official title.
Okay, she's a pretty high up there in the kind of the political ranks. And anyway, she blamed it on the clerk's office, which is how admirable.
Yeah, buck stops here, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so what's going on now is Kim Fox is taking a lot of heat because there was some foul play, clearly. I've heard people say that the chief of police and the mayor are kind of faking it because they're both kind of leftists. The mayor at some point at a press conference said it was all Trump's fault, that Jussie even did it in the first place. And then about the $130,000, well, Jussie Smollett's lawyer comes out and says, actually, he doesn't owe anything. You owe him an apology. So there's so much entitlement and lies and all kinds of crazy liberal logic going on that it's such a web. I don't know if it'll ever even get untangled. This is one thing that I don't know if we'll ever we'll get to the bottom of the whole situation, but it's so tangled up, and the Obamas maybe mix into it. So it's really an interesting story, but I don't know if we'll ever know the truth. Like, we know the truth that he did it, but I don't know if we'll ever know the truth of how he got away with it.
Yeah, and the funny thing for me is that he and his attorney still insist that he's innocent, and I'm like, right. It's obvious that you're not. Like, it's obvious that you staged this.
Right. I had an argument with a friend on Facebook about this because, I love the memes. Right wing people, they kill the memes in such an amazing way that brings joy to my life. And
you are the master of memery.
I mean, the masters. I wish I had that mastery. I can't lie and say I do, but I love to post them. And so I'll share and repost all kinds of junk. But I said something about Jussie because I was like, if I ever get in, I ever come face to face with the law, I'm going to be the gayest, blackest, most liberal person you've ever met in your life. Just see what happens. uh, and it's like, no, I've read articles that said that he probably is innocent. And I said, interesting. I've never seen these articles. Can you show me? Because I even watched CNN videos. CNN hosts were like, ooh, this is weird. Even they couldn't come up with anything to kind of get on Jussie's side. So there are still people, just like the Russia thing, that are still saying, oh, he's innocent. And it's only because he's attractive, it's only because he's gay, it's only because he's black, and it's only because he's a liberal, and because people really want to believe that there are white dudes in MAGA hats going out and pouring bleach on people.
I mean, and it's sad that people want to believe that, but I guess it's kind of like the Mueller thing to an extent, that there's a lot of people out there who want to believe Trump is a Russian agent, basically.
Right.
And back to the Smollett thing, like, I think if I had to guess, I'd say their argument for him being innocent is probably based off of something that came out of TMZ kind of back when the story was first breaking, where supposedly they were making the claim because one of the key pieces of evidence that he staged this was that he basically wrote a check to his two Nigerian friends for $3,000, and TMZ was reporting, that's not actually, it wasn't actually to stage the hate crime. It was for like personal training and fitness reasons or whatever, supposedly. Obviously, the police did not agree with that conclusion, and the police was right. But at the same time, they're the ones who actually did an investigation. They're the ones who have evidence, and nobody else does.
Right. Well, they also found in the house of those two Nigerian guys, they found the bottle in which they used to pour bleach on Jussie, and it was a hot sauce bottle. And so when they had the guys in custody, they said, "Yeah, we put bleach in a hot sauce bottle." They found a hot sauce bottle at their apartment. There's also footage of them buying ski masks and red hats and gloves and all that jazz. So,
I'm sure they were just doing that because they were going to cosplay as a Donald Trump being really cold at the next anime convention. I'm sure that's all they were doing.
Well, also you heard that they had on whiteface, so that's why he thought they were white. Anyway, and these are some dark skinned brothers. Okay, it's gonna have to be a lot of white put on them to make them look like a couple of white dudes. Not to mention, Jussie called them right before the alleged attack and right after. So, and not to mention, he gave them $100 to buy the stuff. I mean, there's just so much evidence. I was talking to a friend and I said, "Why are the Democrats so concerned about saving this guy?" He said, "He's not bright. Like he's clearly not very smart because he couldn't even get away with something like that." Oh, and not to mention, when they went back to the scene of the crime, he and the cops, he was like, "My goodness, so glad that camera caught everything." But he was too dumb to know that the camera was turned the other way from the attack. So it's just all insane. He clearly did it. And then Kim Fox, I mean, they have like photos of the emails that were sent and all of that. So she did it, and she got him off. And I don't know what happened inside that courtroom, but they said, oh, he paid $10,000 and we're going to keep that. We're not going to give it back to him. And not to mention, he did community service with, guess who? Jesse Jackson. So all of it.
I was wondering. I'd read the story now, and I saw that. I'm like, I wonder who he was doing community service with.
It was Jesse Jackson and some foundation of his. So all the way around, this story is wrong on so many levels. So then you compare that with our other topic, the Russia hoax, and there's so many holes in the story that it's hard to say what's true and what isn't. And I can say, as conservatives, we are about the truth. And someone called me out and told me I was lying, and I'm like, no, we don't have faith in people. We don't have this blind faith that this person's a good person for the most part. Like if someone comes out with an allegation, we're like, okay, hold on, let's take a step back here. Let's look at the evidence. And liberals don't tend to do that. They would rather create they would rather create a hate crime than actually take a real hate crime and then find out what went down. So it's just the contrast between liberals and conservatives and the way we think and the way we go about doing things is just insanely different.
It really is. But the thing about the Smollett story that amazes me is that his story has so many holes in it. There's so much evidence that even a lot of people on the left are not buying this. Because I know
Yeah.
Trevor Noah, he's been having some fun with this on Smollett. I know he's been making fun of him. And I would, because even Rahm Emanuel, the mayor of Chicago, like seems to be pretty upset about this. But it's still you
And the
know
chief
it's
of
pretty bad
police.
when people from your own side are being like, yeah, this dude is guilty.
Yeah. And he was so pompous too when he walked out. Like someone who went through something like that, and if it was real and they didn't know what was going to happen to them, you would see the stress in their face and like the lines in their forehead and all that stuff. He didn't have any of that. He came out in a pair of shades. He looked great, by the way. I can't lie. He comes out with a pair of shades, a really cool coat, and swagger up to his eyeballs, and then he's got an entourage, and he's like, "I have been honest and truthful on every single level since day one." I'm just like, how can you say that with a straight face? And he did it. It's insane. It's incredible.
He spoke his truth, Zinga.
Oh, my
Who
bad.
are you to question
Nope,
his truth?
my bad. You're right.
It's his truth, and I'm sure that just he was just giving that money to his Nigerian friends, and they were buying Trump hats and all that, so that they could cosplay as Trump supporters that
Right.
were robbing a bank.
Yep.
At their latest anime convention, and I'm sure the only reason that there was a Tabasco bottle with bleach in it is because that they wanted to clean their clothes, and they felt that putting it into a bottle of hot sauce was just more convenient than traditional storage means.
I think because you can kind of drip, like hot sauce doesn't come out as quickly, so you can kind of drip it. So
Exactly, you can just put just the right amount of bleach on your
exactly.
clothes, not overdo it at all.
Yeah, and then if you're gonna put it on a person, you're not dousing them too bad, just a little bit,
Exactly.
just drops.
Yeah, I'm sure that it would be useful for that. It's just completely unrelated to all of this, but
Right,
and
my mistake.
Fox, I'm sure she's a wonderful human being, not corrupt at all. I'm sure she was just felt that Jussie had paid his debt to society and was just trying to give him a nice break.
Well, the fact that Kim Fox she grew up with in a terrible neighborhood, she grew up poor, and she's black. That alone should make us believe her.
Oh yeah, exactly, and she's a woman.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. She
Producing a
ticks off a
believable women.
lot of boxes. She's great. She's honest. She's truthful. She has the struggle, and she's come up in this world. You go, Kim. You go.
Though there are two reasons to question her credibility. One is the fact that she is, as far as we know, is a heterosexual, and we know that us people who actually like people of the opposite sex can't be trusted. And also, she is a cisgendered woman. She's not a trans woman.
I forgot that.
And we know that only women that have male parts can be trusted.
Right. You're so right. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little confused right now, but don't mind me.
I'm sure it's okay. This all makes perfect sense. And if it's not making sense to you, we'll just take you back to the re-education liberal college sociology courses.
I'm gonna go sign up for a gender studies class right now. Thank you so much, Matthew, for setting me straight.
Oh, you're so very, very well. The sarcasm is getting so thick I can barely distinguish between it and reality.
I'm confused.
And it looks like we got a little more time to spare, so there has been one other story that is making the rounds this week. Joe Biden, good old Uncle Joe, has apparently not been behaving particularly properly with women folk. There's been several women that have come out and reported basically that he made them uncomfortable at rallies and other sorts of events by doing things like rubbing their shoulders or kissing them on the back of the head or smelling their hair and just doing all sorts of things that if a Republican did would get them instantly thrown in hell. Not in jail, but in hell. They just send them straight there. Um, I don't know, Zinga. You think you'd be okay with Joe Biden coming up and sniffing your hair at a rally?
As a woman who has had some strange encounters with men in public places, I could say I don't have too much of a big bubble, but I've seen footage of Joe Biden doing his deal, and it is weird. If Joe Biden or an old man like that came up, even if he was young, came up and just started being on close, and I could feel his breath in my ear, man, that is so bizarre. Like when I've seen the footage, I mean, I saw it well before all of this went on of kids, and they're like doing some kind of ceremony for these kids, and he's like grabbing them, and the kids are like trying to get away instinctively, and I'm like, God, I wish I had some context behind what's going on right now because this is so weird. And it's like I don't want to be one of those people that just automatically judge him because he's a Democrat, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, this is creepy. And then he comes out to some video saying, like pretty much saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I had no clue that was wrong. From now on, I'll change my ways." I'm like, you are in your 70s, honey. You didn't know that was kind of weird? No one ever said anything to this guy? I find that kind of strange myself. That no one ever said, "Hey, you're kind of crossing the line here. Maybe you shouldn't do that anymore." Like his entire life, I don't believe he never knew that. I think he just figured he was in a position of power, and maybe I don't know. Apparently, it wasn't all sexual. It was just he's just a little bit too affectionate. I can go with that. That's fine. But it's creepy. Creepy Joe. Stop it immediately.
No, it's funny. I think Glenn Beck, he was talking about on his show this morning, and he made a really good point about it. Like, where's his wife in all this? Like you think, that because since this whole kind of I guess scandal, if you want to call it that, has broken, like she hasn't said a word. And it could be that Joe's just like doesn't want to bring his wife into politics. So I mean, I guess is a reasonable thing. But you would have to think that at some point she would have gotten in Mr. Biden's ear and said, "Hey, honey, maybe you shouldn't do this."
Yeah.
To, people you don't really know that well.
Yeah. And does he have daughters or a daughter? I know he has at least. I know he had at least 2 sons. I know one passed, and I think he has another, Hunter. I think. But if he does, maybe he has nieces or at least something like that, like some kind of female, like a younger relative that could have said, Dad, you made my friend feel a little awkward, because I just can't believe that no one said anything to him in his entire life. That's kind of weird because I know people that are a little bit overly affectionate from me, and we tell them like, "Hey, you're crossing the line, honey," and they're like, "Oh, sorry." So I'm like, because apparently it wasn't always sexual. It was just like a creepy old grandfather kind of kissing you on the forehead and leaving like a wet mark.
Yeah, well, according to the internet, he doesn't have any daughters, at least not that I can find. But yeah, it is interesting, and it's also interesting to kind of see the different reactions from Democrats because it's like you can tell they're all trying to appease the radical feminists while also not outright condemning Joe Biden because they're all like, I applaud these women for coming forward, and we should believe these women. But they're also like, I don't think this necessarily disqualifies, and
that's up to Joe.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, do you believe Flores? Yes, I certainly believe all women. Should Joe quit running for president? Now that's gonna be up to him. Like every one of them answered that question like that. Mm-hmm. So you're right.
Just like it was up to Kavanaugh whether or not he would, still pursue his Supreme Court seat when, all that stuff broke.
Yeah. Wow, how the goalpost shifts.
Mm-hmm. And I guess to be fair, the things that Kavanaugh was accused of are, had they been true, significantly worse than the things that Biden is being accused of. But
Yes.
still, it does seem like there's a double standard with any sort of sexual romantic misconduct for Republicans or conservatives than toward Democrats.
Yeah, I agree.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
And we'll see if I do feel like this is going to pretty negatively impact whatever chances he has if he does get in the race. Because to me, looking at this race kind of from the outside, if I'm a kind of if I'm part of the Democrat base, Joe Biden does nothing for me. He's an old white guy, and he's not, he's socialism light. He's not as socialist as Bernie Sanders. He's not as he has one too many Y chromosomes than Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
He's not as black as Cory Booker. I mean, he just all these key, very important Democratic qualifications to be president. He's just missing out on.
Right. Yeah, they kind of consider him moderate, so I don't know how much of a chance he had. Apparently, he's kind of leading in some polls and stuff, but at the end of the day, I think it may end up being Kamala, or if it is Joe, then he's probably going to pick some transgender, black, gay, pregnant man, lesbian, transgender, alien,
and Muslim also. They'll somehow they'll be all those things and be Muslim.
And a Muslim who does yoga on the lawn of the White House
while smoking weed.
Yeah, and doing lines of cocaine.
Yeah, just and probably they'll have been a sex worker in their past too. Like that's. I feel like that probably checks every single intersectional box.
No, I feel like we're missing some.
I don't know. So minority, woman, but not actually a woman.
Immigrant.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Can't originally be from the United States. They got to be from they've got to be from Palestine. They got to be a former member of Hamas. That's what they got to be.
So it's a pregnant man who's now a woman, who's also black or brown, who's from Palestine, who wears a hijab, who smokes weed, does yoga, and eats avocados. Boom!
Oh, well, they won't be able to eat avocados for very long because if that Reason articles be to believe, we're going to run out of avocados in 3 weeks if Trump shuts down the border.
Well, that person will support the New Deal, the Green New Deal, but they will also import on a private jet avocados. Boom! Got it.
Yes. What they will do is, like the heroic leftists that they are, they, along with a bunch of Antifa goons, or excuse me, goons, wonderful heroes of Antifa, they will go across the border and they will heroically escape the border patrol and climb over the wall to hand deliver the avocados to underprivileged communities.
While beating up ICE agents.
Yes. And I think that's just absurd enough to end on. So thank you all so much for joining us on this wonderful adventure through the news and just how crazy the world is these days. If you'd like to hear more of what Nzinga and myself have got to say, please check out libertycadre.com. We have all sorts of wonderful opinion and news pieces going up on a regular basis. We also had a brief story about the Mueller Report that we talked about recently. And Nzinga also has a wonderful article up about the similarities between abortion and slavery, so definitely check that out. You can also check us both out on YouTube. Nzinga's YouTube channel is Nzinga J. My YouTube channel is The Liberty Ambassador. And I think that pretty much is all of the shameless plugs that are necessary. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Liberty Cadre. You can follow Nzinga on Twitter at Nzinga1112. Is that right?
I just recently changed it
Oh,
because there was too many numbers. It looked like code. It's Nzinga_J.
at Nzinga_J. You can follow me on Twitter at the Liberty AMB, short for ambassador, because there weren't enough characters for me to put that in the username. And also, you can follow us together on Facebook at the Liberty Cadre. So thank you all so much for watching, and we shall see you next time.